The bank lobby was unusually quiet for a Monday morning. The soft hum of fluorescent lights mixed with the distant clicking of keyboards, creating a sterile calm that made Daniel Carter's anxiety feel louder than it already was. He sat on the edge of a hard plastic chair, holding a thin brown folder on his lap as if it were the last solid thing keeping his life from falling apart. Inside the folder were documents he had read 100 times. Pay stubs, medical bills, repair estimates, and a carefully typed letter explaining why he needed the loan. $25,000. Not for a vacation, not for a luxury, just for a roof that no longer kept the rain out. Mr. Carter, a voice called. Daniel stood quickly, almost knocking the chair back. Yes, that's me. The loan officer, a woman in her late 30s with a perfectly pressed blazer and a polite but distant smile, gestured toward her desk. Please, have a seat. Daniel sat, straightening his back like he was preparing for an exam. This was his third bank in 2 weeks. The first had rejected him outright. The second had promised to review his application and never called back. This was his last real option. The loan officer flipped through his file, her eyes moving fast, trained to spot risk instead of effort. Daniel watched her face closely, searching for any sign of hope. There was none. Mr. Carter, she said finally, folding her hands on the desk, I understand your situation is difficult. His heart lifted slightly. Difficult sounded better than impossible. However, she continued, based on your current income, outstanding medical expenses, and limited savings, the bank cannot approve this loan. The words landed heavy and final. Daniel blinked. I don't understand. I've been working steadily for 6 years. I've never missed rent. I can make the payments. I'm sure you believe that, she replied calmly. But the risk level is too high. Risk. That's what his life had been reduced to. My son, Daniel said quietly, his voice cracking despite his effort to stay composed. He has asthma. When it rains, water leaks into his room. There's mold starting to grow. I just need one chance. The loan officer's expression softened for half a second, then hardened again. I'm sorry. The decision is final. Silence stretched between them. Daniel slowly gathered his folder, his fingers stiff. Thank you for your time, he said, standing up before his disappointment could spill out in ways he couldn't control. As he turned to leave, shame burned in his chest. He hated this feeling. Having to beg, having to explain his worth as a father in numbers and percentages. That's strange, a woman's voice said from behind him. Very strange indeed. Daniel turned. A woman stood a few steps back in line. She wore a simple gray coat, elegant but understated. Her posture was relaxed, but there was something unmistakable about her presence, quiet authority, the kind that made people listen without raising her voice. I'm sorry, Daniel said reflexively. Were you talking to me? Yes, she replied, stepping forward slightly. I couldn't help overhearing your conversation. The loan officer's eyes widened. Ms. Whitmore, she said quickly, straightening in her chair. I didn't realize you were here. Ms. Whitmore nodded politely. No problem at all. I was early. Daniel frowned. The name meant nothing to him. Ms. Whitmore looked at him again. You're asking for a loan to repair your roof. Yes, Daniel said cautiously. But I've just been told I don't qualify. She tilted her head. May I ask why? The loan officer cleared her throat. Due to financial risk factors. I wasn't asking you, Ms. Whitmore said gently, though there was no mistaking the authority beneath her tone. Daniel hesitated, then answered honestly. I don't make much. My son has medical bills. I don't have savings because everything goes to keeping us afloat. Ms. Whitmore studied him closely, not like a banker looking at numbers, but like someone reading a story written between the lines. You're a single father? She asked. Yes. My wife passed away 3 years ago. I'm sorry, she said softly. Daniel nodded. He had learned that sympathy often came easier than help. Ms. Whitmore turned to the loan officer. How much is the loan? $25,000, the woman replied. Ms. Whitmore didn't even blink. And his repayment history? She asked. Clean, the loan officer admitted. No missed payments. No defaults. Employment. 6 years at the same company. Ms. Whitmore smiled faintly. So the problem isn't responsibility. It's circumstance. The loan officer shifted uncomfortably. We still have guidelines. Ms. Whitmore raised a hand. I know the guidelines. I helped write some of them. The air in the room changed instantly. Daniel felt his stomach tighten. Who are you? He asked quietly. Ms. Whitmore turned to him. My name is Eleanor Whitmore. Recognition hit the loan officer like a wave. The Whitmore Group, she said, almost whispering. Eleanor nodded. Daniel's breath caught. Even he knew that name. Whitmore Group was everywhere. Real estate, technology, healthcare. Billion-dollar headlines flashed through his mind. I don't understand, Daniel said, overwhelmed. Why are you talking to me? Eleanor reached into her bag and pulled out a sleek black card, placing it on the desk between them. Because I've been where you are. The loan officer stared at the card as if it were something sacred. I'd like this loan approved, Eleanor said calmly. I'll act as guarantor. The words didn't register at first. What? Daniel whispered. You don't have to, he began. I know, Eleanor interrupted gently. But I want to. The loan officer nodded quickly. Yes, Ms. Whitmore. Of course. I'll start the paperwork immediately. Daniel felt dizzy. This doesn't make sense, he said, his voice trembling. You don't even know me. Eleanor met his eyes. I know enough. I know what it's like to sit in that chair and be told your best isn't good enough because life was unkind. She leaned closer, lowering her voice. Fix your roof. Protect your son. That's all that matters right now. Tears burned Daniel's eyes. He looked away, ashamed of how close he was to breaking down in front of strangers. As papers began printing, Eleanor stood. I have a meeting, she said. But I think this is a better use of my time.